What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where you already know we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Got a guest on today, did a whole bunch of time in North Carolina, convicted of murder when he was a young man. He's got a hell of a story. He's got a little YouTube channel going. I think he's got a book going. He's teaching Espanol, even though he's a gringo or a blanquito. But anyway, Ken, tell the people who you are and let's talk about you, bro.
Yes, my name is Ken. I am the creator of Convicted Murder at Large. I'm also author of two novels, Dear Somebody, Comedic Letters Penned by a Convicted Murder, and The Mental Health Maniac, both of which were penned while I was incarcerated in North Carolina's Division of Prisons. I was released July 1st of last year, kind of on surprise, but I wasn't free just yet. They placed me on a condition called post-release parole, and I stayed on that condition until March, just last month. I really have been technically free for like 35 days after 18 plus years. Yeah, so nearly 2 decades.
You got, and I'm going to plug you immediately. I know you got a YouTube channel. What's the name of that YouTube channel?
Convicted Murder at Large. That is the name of the YouTube channel. I just opened that thing like last month. so yeah, it's new. Everything's new. I barely got any videos up, but it's all about, plugging into books. There's multiple things. I'll talk about that. There's multiple things I'm trying to do with this YouTube stuff. So yeah.
We'll get into that in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about, what happened. I mean, you ended up getting convicted of murder. How old were you and why did this happen?
Well, I was 22 years old when I got charged. I was 24 when I got convicted. And what happened, really, there was a lifestyle going on. I kind of grew up a little bit tough. I grew up in a military family. I grew up fighting. I was born in Germany, came to North Carolina in 1996 from Germany. I had a friend. His family wasn't doing too hot. I got him introduced to selling a little bit, just weed, nothing crazy. And he got a bad deal with a guy. He asked me to go out there with him. And I felt like something wasn't right. So this is Robeson County, North Carolina. It's a small town called Red Springs. So we go out there and when we pull in, I'm looking around and I'm like, yo, this is low income housing. This is like Section 8. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this could be a problem. So, I ain't say nothing. We pull into the situation and the dude comes and he's got the money and everything. He's got $450, $800 for a pound. He's got 450 of them. He says he got a buddy coming. He got a friend coming. He got the rest of the money, yada, yada, yada. Let's smoke something. Now, at that time, I did smoke weed. Don't do it no more. But at that time, I did. Him and my Cody went to smoking, but I was like, nah, I'm good. And my Cody kind of looked at me, and I'm like, just chill. So they get to smoking about an hour or so later, man. Things seem kind of sketchy. And the guy popped fly. Like, if I wanted to rob y'all motherfuckers, I'd do that shit. And he pulled the shirt up, man. And when I seen the pistol start coming out, I moved on him. And I got the pistol out of his hand. I ended up killing him with his own pistol. So yeah, now I know what you're thinking. Self-defense. There is no self-defense in North Carolina, period. There's no self-defense law. Secondly, I was in the commission of a felony at the time because I was conspiracy to sell and deliver. Third, and this is where I place the blame on myself, I did not stop to think about what was going on. Once I got his weapon out of his hand, I could have had him stripped butt naked and run down the road. I ain't have no business pulling no trigger whatsoever. So, but I did. And about a week later, I ended up turning myself into the State Bureau of Investigation. And they charged me with first-degree murder, armed robbery with a dangerous weapon, and possession of a controlled substance, although there was no controlled substance for me to possess. And that was that. Went to the county jail, no bond, and there you go.
Let's talk a little bit about that, right? I mean, he's going down there to sell this kid a half a pound of weed, $450, man.
A full pound. But it was just some dirt. It was some Mexican stepped on. It was, it was like a side hustle. It wasn't, it's not like my Cody wasn't selling dope for a living. He worked a job. He was just doing that on the side because he was supporting himself, his younger brother, his younger sister, and his mom. So
the moral of the story is, pretty much for peanuts, you end up losing many, many years of your life, right?
Yeah, I ended up losing many of mine. My Cody did half the time that I did before he got deported. He was also born in Germany. He got deported back to Germany. And I take the blame on myself. for the whole situation, because my Cody's name's JB. I introduced my Cody to that life. I said, hey man, you can try this out. This is how I make a little money on the side, because that's what I was doing too. Just a little bit. Wasn't like a career, but so in the
Listen,
end,
you take the gun from the kid. Do you feel like he was a threat, like he was really going to pull it out and rob you guys?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I didn't even think. I didn't even think I moved. And all my life, I have been prone to violence. So that's another thing that I put on myself. All my life, I've been prone to violence. And I'm a 0 to a million type guy, which means I'm either going to do nothing or I'm going to do way too much. And that's what I did. So, I take the blame. So when I went to prison and the initial, was life sentence, when I went, I was like, okay,
we're gonna get there in a minute. I want to ask you a couple questions though before we get to the prison. So you said you unload on this kid. How many times you hit him?
Once. I only shot one time in the face though. He had a 45 caliber pistol. It was a Lama Max Duo 2, also known as a Colt 1911 45 caliber. So
you hit him one time in the face. How old was this kid?
He wasn't really a kid. He was like 27, 28. I can't remember exactly how old he was. And he was a known stick-up kid. I talked to his cousin when I was in prison. His cousin told me, he said, man, you did what you had to do. This man been sticking up people his whole life since he was a teenager. And he went to stick up the wrong people, and you got him. So they were like, chalk it up to the game. I always felt bad. I went to talk to his cousin. When I found out that was his cousin, I went to address it with him. Like, let him know, I'm here, man. What we going to do? And he was like, I didn't even like that. He said, my cousin's been doing that shit since he was yay high. So he got what he deserved. So
let me ask you this. You only hit him one time. Did you freeze up afterwards and jump in the car? Were you like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that? What happened? Because usually people unload sometimes.
No, I just stopped. I just stopped and looked at him. And it was like, I didn't run away from the scene or nothing. I walked away. That was it. My Cody took off. He was gone. He was like, he was out of there. But
what was going through your mind after you killed the guy? You don't turn yourself in for a week. Are you like, man, I'm going to be on the run forever. I'm going to turn myself in. What's going through your mind? I don't know.
Bro, I don't know. I don't know what was going through my mind. I was scared. Man. Everybody plays hard. I wasn't really a criminal like that. I was prone to some criminal activities every now and again, but I wasn't like that. So yeah, it was definitely one of those situations where I just don't really know what I was thinking, and I was trying to analyze it, and I knew that they were looking for me, and I was missing. So, and I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna eat it. So I went back into Robeson County, and they had a special agent and his second, and they didn't even know who I was. Like when I walked up on them, I knew who they were because people told me that they were over there. Like I was on the phone with certain people. I can't mention who because then they would be complicit. You know what I'm saying? But and they told me, I said, man, they're over here right now looking for you. I said, fuck it, man. Let's go ahead and get it over with because it's either one of two things. You're not gonna get away. There's cameras everywhere. Motherfuckers are gonna find me eventually. It wasn't like a heist and I had a game plan where I was gonna be out of the US or across the country in no time. Bro, I was a broke motherfucker too. I didn't have shit. So I was gonna go down. So I said, you know what? I'm aware of it, man, because that's always been the kind of guy I am. If I make a mistake, I wear my mistake and I eat it. So yeah, I went and I said, hey man, y'all looking for a guy, man? This is me. So
let me ask you a little bit about that. Do they take you in there on like some first 48 stuff? They trying to interrogate you? Do you admit it? What happened?
Nah, man, they told me right out that my Cody had already told them everything they needed to know. They didn't even need to talk to me. Now, listen. Granted, I'm going to give it credit where credit's due, though. My Cody told everything, but he told the truth. He didn't say that we went to rob the dude or went to something, or he didn't try to put it all on me. He said that he was going to make a sale and that I rode with him and that this is what happened. So he told them exactly the truth. And like I said, he wasn't built for that life, and I should have never introduced him to that. So if he ever sees this video, I apologize to him, even though he told on me. He did prison time too. And I apologize to him because I believe his prison time was probably tougher than mine. So
Let me ask you this. What were you originally sentenced to?
Originally, a first-degree murder carries mandatory life sentence. Now, life sentence in North Carolina is natural life, no parole, no chance, period. Possibly after 25 years, they give you a chance to get back in and to do what they call a MAP contract. And a MAP contract will get you from whatever custody level you're at, which has to be medium if you're even going to do a MAP contract, into honor grade for a year or 2 years. And then they'll think about letting you out on parole, but it'll always be conditional. How I just mentioned about have unconditional discharge papers, that'll never happen if you get out on a MAP contract. So that was the original. Motion for appropriate relief got me off of that. Pushed it from first degree to second degree. Possession of a controlled substance was tossed. The robbery with a dangerous weapon, although there was never really a robbery, that stuck. And the reason it stuck is because they needed a second felony, because it's like the 3 felony thing, you know, they want to bury you. So they needed that second felony because as a 0 level first time offender, if they would have just dropped it from second degree or from first degree to second degree, I would have done like 10 years. You know what I'm saying? So they needed to do that to keep it up. In the end, my sentence went from being never to 20 years and 9 months. And the 9 months was called a 9-month post-release, which is what the parole is. So
How much you do straight before you walked out of there?
say it again.
How many years did you do straight before you walked out of there? A little less than 20, right?
Just under it. Really, it was right at 18. I got locked up in May of 2004. I got out in July of 2022. So it's actually a shade over 18. So yeah.
So you do all this time, but let me reverse this. What is it like for you to be sentenced at 24 years old? You get arrested at 22, you get sentenced at 24 to that kind of time. What did it feel like? Did it hurt? Did you cry?
I didn't cry, but I wish I could have. Yeah, you know how it is, man. We get that tough guy shit in this, man. We can't do it. But no, man. I realized that this was it. That even though I was given a date, that in my mind it was, this is it. This is life. And you take it in there, and if you die, you die. If you live, you live. You make the most out of every single moment, though, because even though you're incarcerated, life hasn't ended yet. So when I went in there, I said, you know, I'm not going to worry about the streets. And I deliberately pushed everybody that I know from the streets away. I've had, since I got off the post release, I've actually opened up some social media, and I have the YouTube channel and stuff. And I've had people like, oh, we've been looking for you forever. Didn't nobody know what happened to you? There's a reason for that, because I made it so that nobody. Because in my mind, I said, I have to do this myself. I'm not going to let everybody wear my pain. So when I went in, man, I figured, you know, like, it's over. This is death. You know what I'm saying? So just go in here and make the most out of it for yourself and survive as much as you can. And if you don't survive, so what? That's it.
Wow. That's crazy to have to go in there with that mindset. People don't understand that. Your co-defendant did some time too. How much time did he do?
He got deported in 2013, if I'm correct. So he did a shade under 10. He did 9 years. He did half the time that I did. So yeah.
Never contacted you, never sent you a letter or nothing?
No, I did speak with his younger sister, and that was actually in the county jail, and that was because they offered him a bond, and she wanted to know if I was going to have somebody do something to him, and I made a promise to her on that day that it was not going to happen. That I had already relayed all the messages, that he would be safe, and that was something that I swore my life on. There wasn't nobody going to touch him. Other than that, I didn't even attempt to contact him. I do know I had my people look him up on the internet a couple times to find out where he was at. And for the most part, he worked in correction enterprise sewing plant for the majority of the time he was in prison. So at least he was able to eat a little bit while he was in prison. He was able to make his $15 to $18 a week. So he had some canteen. So yeah.
Now you go to prison. What's your life like when you walk into the North Carolina Department of Corrections?
They sent me to Central Prison Processing, right? That's where they process everybody that has, at that time. Now it's changed, but you know, that was a long time ago now. But at that time, everybody who had a violent offense or who had more than 10 years on their sentence or had done previous time before and was a certain level, maybe STG, which is now called SRG or something of that nature, they send you to Central Prison for processing. Now, the processing in Central Prison back then was in old death row. So they were letting you know what you were getting into. You go in there and you've got 8 cells on the bottom, 8 cells up top. And, you know, it was humbling. It was humbling. You know, you go in there, just, you do your thing. Now, me, because I was born in Germany, I processed with the immigrants. So they put me in block. There was 3 blocks, if I'm correct. There was 3 blocks that had nothing but immigrants in it. And that was where I was placed at. And that led to At that time, I didn't know it, but now I know, hindsight being 2020, that led to a lot of connection with the immigrant community. I never realized that I was going to be viewed as an immigrant the entire time I was incarcerated, and I was for the most part. So
You were kind of like in an immigrant prison, not in like a regular prison, or no?
no, it was regular prison, but it's just certain cell blocks. What they do is in the processing, they have each, like, they have areas of, it's all old death row, bottom and top. Um, but it's kind of hard to explain. They segregated people out. So they put me in there with mostly Latinos. I think there was one guy from Belarus and a couple other, people and maybe some of the other blocks. And then like certain counties would be placed in other processing blocks. And I guess because they didn't have a whole lot of room for processing, they would only do certain counties at a time. So all of the guys that went with me from the county, Robeson County, to processing, they put all of them in the same block, like 4 or 5 blocks over. But they put me in with the immigrants because on my paperwork, it didn't show if I had U.S. citizenship. All it showed was my birthplace. So there you go. Yeah.
Violent over there? I mean, I've been around some dudes that were in North Carolina, and they're like, bro, they treat you horrible in there. There were times when you go to the hole, you can only have a Bible, no books, no magazines back in the day. I mean, was there violence there?
Absolutely, bro. I did over 5 years in solitary confinement. I know all about that. Yes, they when they put you in the hole, man, you're stripped bare, man. You are stripped bare depends on where you go, depends on your situation. But yeah, the staff there, this is a slave state. Let's break it all the way down. Let's get everybody set from the beginning. North Carolina is a slave state. They run their prisons like slave plantations. If you're a prisoner, you are a slave, and they treat you that way. And that led to me doing over 5 years in solitary confinement, because almost all the time I did in solitary was for assault on staffs. I can't talk about those very much because they don't have no statute of limitations, and I'm not trying I'm not trying to get re-locked back up for the same shit I did years ago. But for the most part, yeah, North Carolina is a violent state. It's gangland too, which I'm pretty sure a lot of guys say that about other prisons. It's just that's the general status of prisons, I guess. So
Were you never gang associated or no?
no, but that comes with an asterisk because I did run with La Raza most of the time that I was in prison. That was what I was going to explain about how obviously I was housed in with immigrants quite a bit. I ended up learning the Spanish language and kind of got linked in with them. Now, for one, it was more on just like some friendly stuff. But then when I went to medium custody for the first time, I was at Lumberton, and there was a young guy there named Chiapas. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you the story. Young guy named Chiapas, and he was sick. He was hurting, and I seen him. He's cradled up on his bunk, and I'm like, "Yo, man, what's going on with you?" And ¿qué hay? And he tells me, "Man, mi estómago me duele. My stomach, man, that shit hurts." So I'm like, "Man, let me look at you." And I looked at his eyes, and I seen the yellow kind of tension into his eyes. I knew immediately. I said, "Man, his appendix done burst." So I'm like, "Yo, have you tried to go to medical?" "Yeah, the guards won't let me go." So I'm like, "Come on, man, let's go." We go up there, and I tell the guards, I'm taking him to medical. "How you ain't taking him?" I said, "Man, shut the fuck up. I'm taking him to medical." So, I mean, you got to be like that sometimes. So I end up getting up there in the guard in medical, which is, his name was Oxendon, man. Me and him had plenty of beefs at Lumberton, but I ended up finding out that he was cooler than I thought he was in the end. I ain't going to explain that. But me and him were arguing at the door. Meanwhile, Chiapas then slid through, and the nurse is trying to see him, but don't nobody in there speak Spanish. Chiapas don't speak a lick of English. She don't speak nothing. So I'm arguing with Oxendon, telling you I need to get in there so I can tell the nurse what's wrong with him. And she hears us. We're going at him. We're calling each other all types of names. And so she tells me to step outside, and I go in, and I let her know. I said, "Man, I think his appendix done burst. Check out his eyes. Check out such and such." And she did. And she said, "Yeah, he's got to go to the hospital ASAP." So I'm happy. I left. I did my job. You know what I'm saying? You don't ever let nobody die in prison, period. Even if it's your enemy, don't let them die. So, and Chiapas was cool with me. You know what I'm saying? So going back, well, Chiapas goes to the hospital, man. He comes back about a week later, man. He survived. He did burst his appendix. And when he comes back, they called me Alemán. Alemán means German in Spanish. And they call you that because typically they name you by where you're from. And I was from Alemania, which is Germany, so they called me Alemán. And so when he comes back, he's telling everybody about how El Alemán saved his life and so on and so forth. Now that when I'm doing this El part, because that kind of puts a status to you. That's like a bump up. You have Chapo and then you have El Chapo. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different ballgame. So So yeah, it kind of linked me in with La Raza. And from there on out, I was just kind of like known all over state. Like they just knew who I was. I would go to places and the Latinos would ask me about, they see me speaking Spanish and they like, hey man, what's your name? And I say, oh yeah, yeah, we heard of you. We heard of you. Yeah, all right. So from there on out, I mean, I was just linked in with them, I guess, and that's not a gang, it's not an organization, but it is a community. So it's the best way to explain it.
So when you talk about violence that you committed, I know you said you don't want to talk about anything with the officers. Were there things when you had to handle business in there or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially early on. Central prison process, when they sent me from Central prison, they sent me to Scotland. Scotland was next to Lanesboro. They were sister camps, and both of them were disastrous. And I was kind of a big dude at that time. I'm a lot smaller now, about 30, 40 pounds smaller. I was big muscle wise. I had been training up quite a bit while I was in jail, and I was always just a big guy. So I get there and I don't like the term white boy. I cannot stand when somebody calls me a boy. So I would get in a lot of beefs with that. But they come to find out that I could fight pretty good, so it was okay. Guys will leave you alone at you knock one or two people out. They say, oh, all right, we're going, yeah, you got to win them. So
You strike me as a very, and I told you this as a, a high strung dude. I mean, so people know you hit me up with an email like, yo, bro, I'm going to cut right to the chase. This is what it is. I'm like, that made me respond to you. I'm like, who's this dude think he is? You know what I mean? The way you had wrote your email. So I said, man, I got to find out who this cat is.
yeah,
You look pretty straightforward, dude. You were straightforward on your email. Like, and I could feel like the high strungness, the tension in your email. So I'm like, I'm going to hit this dude back up. And I hit you up right away. Um, Other violence that happens in the North Carolina Department of Corrections. You said it's ganged up, a lot of Bloods, a lot of Crips, right?
yes, absolutely. Well, first, I'm gonna mention, man, time is the most valuable commodity. You know, man, I'm not gonna waste nobody's time. So when I hit you up, we went straight to the grain. But yeah, as far as the gangs, the system, and this isn't a general statement because obviously from camp to camp it's a little bit different. But for the most part, United Blood Nation has the compounds. They pretty much run the show. And that comes with some take. It comes with some good and with some bad. It just depends on the business and so on and so forth. But North Carolina has like 60 prisons. It was like 64 when I first got locked up. That's a lot of different prison compounds for just one state prison system. And depending on where you're at, depends on what the demographics look like. The general is you got I-95 runs right in the middle of the state. Anything along the I-95 corridor or east is pretty much going to be blood for the most part. And anything to the west of that is, well, that's when you start to see a little bit more variation. There's a little bit more other going on. In the mountains, that's where all the white guys are at. So you'll see more of the AB and stuff like that up there. Lanesboro was blood all the way. Alexander, which is closer towards the mountains, that was a little bit more AB. Maury, on the other hand, which is east, was actually more Crip. So, and the Crips and Boss or GD folk, they kind of run together a little bit in prison. So they kind of fit together in North Carolina's prison system. They kind of work together, I should say. La Raza doesn't really try to run any prison, but in the background, most of the dope comes through La Raza. So that's how it pretty much runs with that. But yeah, for the most part, man, I did the last 4 years, almost 4.5 years actually, at Pasquotank Correctional, and it was run by Billy. It was, that was the set. They pretty much ran the compound. Sometimes a little G shine, but it was blood all the way. So
Were things racially segregated there? The whites sit with the whites, the blacks sit with the blacks, Hispanics with the Hispanics?
somewhat. And that's kind of funny that you say that. And I thought about it, and I hear the other people talk from other prisons, and it's not really like this. Like how it was in North Carolina, it's not really like that where they're at. But for the most part, there's so many more black individuals in prison incarcerated than there are any other race. And the Latinos, the whites, and the Native Americans tended to kind of lead together because they were so overwhelmed. I guess it was kind of just like a survival tactic. Or maybe, people of similar skin tone tend to flock together or something. Out towards the mountains, like I mentioned, that was majority Caucasian, majority white guys. So that's pretty much what was out there. I did do a year and some change at Marion. and that is the whitest compound I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing. And then on the opposite end, I was at Eastern Correctional, and I was the only white guy on the entire unit. There was none other. I was the only one. It's a small unit, ain't nothing but 96 people on the unit. There was me, there was like 2 or 3 Indians and like 10 Latinos, and the rest were black. So yes, there is a divide, and it just depends on the region.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned that white boy thing earlier, right?
Yes.
Did you feel like they targeted you because you were white?
Yeah, and it didn't work out too well for most of the guys that did that. So I I've done some pretty nasty stuff to people for the term white, but I always give them full warning, like, hey, look, man, please don't. And politely, I was a very humble guy in prison. I'm a humble guy now. I don't come at people really aggressively, although I seem to be super high strung to you. I'm not that type of. I don't push up on people, but I just ask them, like, hey, man, look, man, I'd appreciate it if you don't call me white, but man, you call me white, you can call me cracker, you can call me hunky, just don't call me a boy, because a boy to me is homosexual. So, and I'm definitely not a homosexual. So when they say that, yeah, definitely not.
Crazy, bro.
Uh, watch the second video that I dropped, homosexuality in prison. I'm gonna tell you what I like in that video. But yeah, yeah. So it caused a lot of issues, and at Scotland, obviously that was a problem because there normally wasn't but 2 or 3 white guys in the block, so the guys would get kind of fly with the white boy shit. And I was on blue unit when I first got there, and I knocked out a Muslim dude, and that caused a little bit of a rift. But they couldn't really do nothing about it because we went in the room one on one, and I gave him forewarning beforehand. I said, "Look, please don't call me white. I'm gonna call you what the fuck I want to call you. Okay, listen, we're gonna go inside this room, and I'm gonna knock you out, and then afterwards, you're not gonna call me white boy." And we went in the room. He lasted a hot 30 seconds, and he was asleep. And then he didn't call me white boy no more, and that was it.
You ever lose any?
One, T-Row at Scotland also, but this was more of a recreational fight. T-Row used to train for boxing, and we made a rule before I went in. I told him, I said, all right, look, this is the rule. I got an advantage because we're inside of a cell and it's small. He's got the speed advantage, so I know I can't touch him with speed. I've got the strength advantage. He can't touch me with strength, so I'm not going to grab him. We're already inside of a small cell. I'm not going to grab him. So it's just going to be a hand-to-hand. And T-Row was tearing me up. This dude's hands were fast. And he was tearing me up, and then he slipped, and I caught him, and he fell. And when he fell, that kind of ended it. And everybody laughed. He's like, "Oh, well, you would have won because he was on the ground. And you could have jumped on him." And I tell him, "Nah, ain't no would have won nothing. We set the rules from the beginning. The rules was we were going to box. Wasn't going to be no extra stuff going." And he won. And they wanted to pick on him because, I mean, I dropped him pretty bad, but I mean, he won that. He didn't have a single mark on him. I had a couple speed knots. You know what I'm saying? So, but T-Row, I respected T-Row. And like I said, it was kind of recreational because he had seen me fight other guys, and he used to pick with me on the basketball court about, oh, you can't beat everybody. And I was like, all right, man, we can try it one time. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, I was young. And like I said, I had the mindset that I wasn't going nowhere, that I was going to be in prison the rest of my life. So I didn't care about fighting. And I'm going to go ahead and make mention too, man. Anybody who's ever been in a lot of fights knows that the fear of getting punched in the face is irrelevant. It really is illogical to begin with. And the reason I say that is because we're scared of it, but then when you get punched in the face, you realize that it really does not hurt that much. It doesn't. It's just the thought of getting hit. So, but yeah, T-Row got me. Man. T-Row was fast. He was nice with hands. So, yeah.
So, I mean, you spent all that time in prison, man. What's the one thing you used to miss about home, man?
One thing, man, everything. I tried not to even think about it. But it's peace of mind is the one thing, man. It goes beyond any physical thing whatsoever, man. When you're in that environment, it is constant chaos. It's constant violence. It's people are just always into it with everybody, and there's no peace. And that's the one thing that throughout the time that I was incarcerated, the only time that I actually ever was able to find true peace of mind in prison was in solitary confinement. And you get in there and you're by yourself, and the world warps, and it's just you and the voices in your head, and nobody else. So it's like, yeah, but peace of mind.
How long you
That's
been free for? I know you said earlier, what, 35 days actually off of.
yeah. I got released from prison July 1st, so not even a full year, man. like I said, on March the 28th, they actually gave me the unconditional discharge papers. Up until March the 28th, I still considered myself incarcerated. At any moment, they could pull up on the doorstep, put me in handcuffs, take me down, piss test, so on and so forth. So I didn't even really attempt to do anything outside of getting the 2 books that I wrote in prison published and trying to make some type of game plan. And to be honest with you, I am absolutely lost out here, man. Like I know that and I'm pretty sure you felt this way when you got out too. And a lot of guys are going to agree with what I say, that I feel like I don't belong in this world, that I am not of this society. And it just is weird still. It's weird still. I go out places and I feel like a fly on the wall. I feel like a third wheel in any conversation. So yeah, it's tough, man. I don't know if we ever get out, man. I wonder about that sometimes. Do we ever really get out? Because mentally we kind of stay there. So
Listen, it takes time. I see your eyes watering up. I mean, it's real. This is part of it, man.
yeah, it's part of it, bro. I'm
But
struggling.
it does take time, and I know you're struggling. I know you're struggling financially. Um,
Absolutely.
Tell the people what you're doing financially to take care of yourself and how much you're making. I know you're teaching Spanish, so tell the people.
Yeah, actually, I'm teaching English to Spanish speakers, so it's the opposite way around. And man, they only pay me $1.70 every 10 minutes. I'm scraping pennies, scraping pennies. I do have some book sales, not enough. Part of the YouTube channel, the whole purpose of me putting the YouTube channel out is to promote the books. I'm gonna be straight honest. It's a three-headed monster. Uh, Obviously, Dear Somebody, Comedic Letters Penned by a Convicted Murderer is about prison. Those are stories written from prison. I put a little comedic touch to it because sometimes people need to laugh, man. And a lot of the stuff that goes on when we're incarcerated is actually funny when you look at it from a third person perspective, from an outside eye. The second novel was written solitary confinement, and that's The Mental Health Maniac. That novel is 381 pages of epic poem, and it is tough. And I think that I might have absolutely lost my mind while I was writing it. And that's the only way that it would have ever gotten written, because that book is crazy. And the third head on the monster is I would like to somehow parlay this into being able to teach more individuals English, more Latinos English, because that's my contribution back for all the good things that the Latinos did for me. I understand that in Central and South America, man, when you learn the English language, your value goes up times 3. You make a lot more money. And in Colombia, where my friend's at right now, man, the minimum wage is like $275 a month. If you can speak English, though, you make $600 a month. That's more than double. And if you can speak it really well, you make $1,000 a month is good income in Colombia. So, I look at that and I say, hey, man, that would be my way of giving back. And I truly like one. I do. But yeah, as far as like right now, I have invested everything that I have, which was relatively, I'm going to tell you where my money came from in a second, so you're going to laugh. I invested pretty much everything I have in getting this equipment to talk with you right now, and putting the books together, and obviously getting a wardrobe and stuff, because clothes from 18 years ago wasn't going to work. So a lot of stuff like that. But the money I used to invest in all of this was stimulus check, bro. Yes, I got them for the stimulus check while I was in prison.
Check this out, right? This is the deal, right? I'm gonna post your Cash App. I don't pay people for interviews, right? Some of these dudes, they get these big names on their channel. They're paying people, man. I don't pay people, right? Because I don't make a lot of money on YouTube. But I'm gonna shoot you a little something at your Cash App. What is your Cash App? Tell the people what it is. Some people might want to help you out.
It's my name, man. Ken Litteral. That's it. That's all you need to know. It's I can't hear you.
What is it? The money sign, Kenneth Litteral?
Yeah, that's it. Ken, just Kenn, Litteral.
I'm going to post that in the links, post the links for your book. And I want people to know you learned Spanish in prison, and now you're using it to try to make a little bit of money and help people at the same time. So you did some good things with your life. How old are you? 40?
Yeah, 40 years old, bro.
Let me tell you something, man. You got your whole life ahead of you. You still look young. You probably still feel young. And keep that mindset and keep pushing. But I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna get ready to close the show. I am gonna link your books, put pictures of them up. I'm gonna ask people to go out there, man, support this dude, man, because he is doing the right thing. Crazy story, gets jammed up, man, and that's kind of what the moral is, man. You get all this time, over $450, man, going to help out a friend, and someone wants to rob you and then they end up on the shitty end. But
Yeah.
anything you want to say before we get ready to go?
Man, actually, hold on. I'm gonna do it this way. This is a shout out to you, man. Yeah, you see that? That's a shout out to you.
That's what's up.
Because people talk about heroes and stuff, man. You are rescuing people from hell, man. You are getting guys out of prison. So I'm gonna strap on the Buffalo cap for my man that loves the Buffalo Bills. I definitely appreciate everything that you've done for other individuals, and of course also for me today. So yeah, man. And to everybody out there, man, try to make the most out of the most miserable. In the end, happiness is not something at the end of the road. It's something that you are while you're going down. There's diamonds on every side of the path. Just keep your eyes open. And it ain't all about us sometimes. Sometimes things happen for us to help other individuals. So that's what I hope to do in my end. I don't believe I'm nothing bigger than this. I'm a little guy. So, but potentially I could influence some stuff to make people, make it better for other individuals. So,
listen, man, you seem like a good dude with a good head on your shoulders. People heard your story. Again, I'm gonna ask people, man, if you want, man, this dude's not out there doing bullshit. If you want, man, donate a couple dollars, help the kid out. If you're gonna donate something to the channel this week, donate it to Ken. When I call people kid, I don't mean a little kid. It's just a word that I use. But anyway, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, sharing your experiences. And we're going to post up your book, post up your links. Check them out. Check out a book. If you don't want to make a donation, buy a book. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's all you got to do. You ain't got to donate money for free. Just buy the book. And you'll love the books. I'm telling you now, you're going to love them. So
I'm going to plug your YouTube channel too, man. Tell the people again, Murderer at Large, right?
Convicted murderer at large. Yeah. Convicted murder at large. They let me free. I don't know why they did it, but they let me go.
Thank God, man. Do the right thing with it, man. I think you're an intelligent dude. It's going to take time. The struggle is real. You got my number, bro. You ever need to reach out? Because I seen you get teary-eyed. I've been there, bro. It took me a year and a half. I would watch the prison videos. I would watch that Troy Kell video, and it would break me. Or watch a dude being cell extracted. It would break me at times. Sometimes I used to come down to my office. It's about the size of a handicap cell. And you know what, man? It was my solitude. It was my place. But I'm going to tell people, man, if you like what we're doing, you already know. Hit that like button. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. With respect, until tomorrow, we're out.